So many men are out there worried about this particular point here. How can they ensnare a woman? How can they secure themselves a fine, angelic figure? But today, the video centers on a totally opposite end of that spectrum on there. Most here have a problem with the entry point. Well, it's all but dried up for them on there, so to speak. They don't consider the exit in there because they have not even gotten to enter there. But let's say you are fortunate enough to find a woman who has blessed you with her presence for a good many years, or perhaps who has, shall we say, cynically perhaps, pragmatically, some would say certainly, a woman who has chosen you to be her lawfully wedded provider, the one who can fund her lifestyle in a manner in which she sees fit and appropriate for a while. Then it comes to this video type here, the man getting divorced on it. That's the opposite end, okay? Initially, entry point. Well, you can't even get there now. This comes to the end of it. Let's take a listen here, because they get a little bit wild, but it's something to think about. Just knowing that the entry point, you must have something in the back of your mind at least preparing for what might happen on the other side of it. Take it away. This is at present.father over on TikTok.
They call him Ghostface Pass, the final voice of reason in a world gone mad.
Let me ask you guys something. How is it a man can be with a woman for years? For years. They live together, raise kids together, share holidays, birthdays, and not once, I mean not once, does the police get called. But the second the man says, I can't do this anymore, or divorce gets brought up, suddenly he's dangerous?
Now this here, I will interject, is a very common story that you can find many such videos online here. I'm sure you know somebody it's happened to. You've had a family member, you've had a relative, you've had a friend, or a friend of a friend. So it pops up perhaps more frequently now than others would like to admit.
Suddenly he's abusive? Suddenly the same man who tucked those kids in every night is a danger to his own family. Make that make sense. If he was truly that person, why didn't anyone say anything when things were good?
It's always the bearded ones.
Why is it the minute custody is on the line, the stories start changing? And here's the truth that nobody wants to talk about. False allegations. They destroy lives. They destroy fathers. They destroy families. And the punishment for making one of those should be the same as the crime that they're accusing someone of doing. Because when you weaponize the system, you're not just hurting a dad. You're hurting the kids who lose the only steady parent that they have. Fathers aren't perfect, but most of us are just trying to love our kids and survive the system that's already stacked against us. So to every man fighting the lies right now, stand fucking tall. The truth doesn't need to scream to be heard. It just needs time. If you've lived this, drop your story in the comments.
Now, again, this part centers on the departure here. It's not how do I get her to like me? How can I get her to give my phone number? What do I say on the first date? This happens much farther into it when you have invested much more in there. And so the more of these I saw popping up on here, you have to wonder, why is it that this is such a common scenario here? Why, and ever more frequency, why are they appearing? And it really comes down to a matter of control here, that oftentimes one partner will try to get power or a position where they enjoy the level of power they have in the relationship there, and they will use whatever elements they have to try and control the other one. Not always done in a vile, malicious sort of way. In a healthy one, perhaps there's more of that give and take style dynamic where it's acceptable. You think, okay, I'll give a little here and I'll take a little there, and things mesh together in a way that both people enjoy it. Now, he's talking about the old guillotine gets dropped here very suddenly, there's a severing of the head. That is when these certain types of allegations affect these men who have, by their own accounts, done nothing in the past, and yet there they are now being tarnished and targeted by these vile accusations in there. And why does that happen? Well, it's very, very easy to see in most cases on it. When you have lost control, say in this case, the women, when they have lost control of the dynamic, they can no longer dictate what the man does. He's kind of had his own mind freed. He may have been putting up with something for so many years, and there comes a breaking point where he says, yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm not taking out the trash anymore. I'm tired of dragging that bin out to the street each day. I'm out of here. Or whatever it is. Maybe he didn't like the way you folded his laundry or didn't match his socks, whatever it might be. He's out of there. And now the other partner, the woman here, has to decide, well, if this is going down, I can't have this out of my control. And the very system here makes the very easiest thing to do just file some allegation, file some accusation against the person that you don't like. And especially if they get entangled with some sort of underhanded, lowlife type of attorney who runs this playbook, and they know that a woman who they can get to go along with these schemes very often will keep applying money, because that becomes very heavily engaged in the courtroom, so the legal fees will add up for these men, and it drags on. They have all these different appearances. They have different filings and whatnot to go on for these poor fellows. And so the attorney thinks it's a big old golden goose here laying out some eggs, and if they can get them all to sign that, just by that initial filing, it's making a deal with the devil, so to speak, because once you file something like that, in order to backtrack from it, you have to remove all your credibility for you to say, oh, wait a minute, actually, maybe I was a little bit wrong about that. Maybe he wasn't so bad after all. I stubbed my toe when I thought he stepped on it, and now I filed to ship him off to Antarctica. You can't really do that. You can't backtrack because you've already dumped all in on the hand, using some poker terms here. You've already gone all in. You shoved those chips forward. And you don't get to reach back in and say, well, wait a minute, let me remove a few hundreds. No. That's not how it works here. So once the attorney can get them in there, they know the road ahead. The blueprint is already mapped out, and they can easily plant the fear. Oh, no, you can't do that now. Oh, no. Keep going. So it lines the pockets in there, which is one reason they say the system is so rigged against the men on it. So by signing that deal with the devil, it could take you 5, 10, maybe even 12 minutes to strap together all those accusations against fellows like this here. Maybe even 15 minutes if you have to think of a few adjectives to throw in there. And that little snippet that you churn out there could easily drag on for a minimum of weeks, months, sometimes years, like this poor fellow here. And it goes on and on. The process builds on it. And why is it such a common thing then? Because this here is the very simple reason for it. If you went the legal route, the fair route, the honest route, requesting the same types of relief or accommodations, we will say, that these women are filing for, could take months, and you may not even succeed in there. However, by these accusations and filings and police reports and protective orders and all that sort of thing, what could take you months, a year, to get, and maybe it's not even a guarantee, the women could get that in a single day here. Just go on a pier, run a few tears down the face and you get your case granted, and now the man is put on the defense here, having to defend himself on it. And that is where they feel the greatest, the men that is, feel the greatest, and some of the women, of course, not all women fall into the category of false accusers and all that. So anybody, man or woman, feels that is the most unfair portion of it, because now the man must put in much effort, much money, many resources in there trying to prove the innocence on there. And part of that unfairness, you must remember this about it, this one point here, you must remember, I already touched on it, where if they file, the courts on there take a very conservative approach and will grant many things just on hearsay initially. Right away, swiftly, boom, out of there, you are gone. Sheriff gets you a knock on the door, whatever it is, maybe they send a pleasant little lady over there to let you know you've been evicted. That happens very swiftly. Now, the justice portion of it, where you actually get your side heard, where these men can go in there and really put on the evidence, that is a long process on it. It takes a good while for that to even begin. And that is what I believe men need to understand on it, who are in these sorts of positions here, where it feels very unfair to them initially, because everyone says, oh, the family court or justice system, the wheels turn slowly, but they get there in the end. And the initial burst on there, it does not turn slow at all. They get things taken from them. These fellows, a lot of them read the comments here, get sent off to jail. They are hauled away, embarrassed, handcuffed, thrown out. Immediately, essentially. So what you must allow the mind to do is just relax a little bit. Just relax a little bit. You got to think of it not as a sprint. If you were running a marathon, you wouldn't sprint your hardest for the first 10, 15 seconds and then look around. Are we done yet? Oh, aren't we done? Because they don't even work that way. So they have to get the mindset that they are in for a long, continued run here. It's a, if you want to call it a race at that, they are moving through, and it's about pacing the mind instead of anticipating. Even though you desire very quick results in here, you must anticipate the long haul and let that sit in the mind. Let it drift in there. Be comfortable with that idea that, yes, you will have your turn, but it requires time. Time where you feel it is unfair. Time where the man is perhaps losing even more. But it moves on, and it moves on as long as they stay consistent, they stay disciplined. The results start coming their way, because someone who files a false accusation, by the very nature of that one act, means they are unstable, they are inconsistent, because what they claim does not match with reality. And that in itself should give you all the wherewithal you need to understand that this type of person will not be able to maintain. They don't have it within their personality, within their mind, to continue on looking consistent. And let's head to this other video he posted up on it. This guy, all kinds of negatives are befalling him.
And then told people she was in fear for our kids. My ex called the police on me again. Said I put a tracking device on her car. And then told people she was in fear for our kids because of me. All this just 2 days after a court hearing didn't go her way. She knows me. We were married for 12 years. She knows I would never do anything like that. But when lies are all you've got, you just keep stacking them, hoping.
Suspicious timing on there is another very characteristic red flag that often follows along here. And this, I said, this unfortunate sap on it.
Someone, somewhere will believe it. So the police investigated it. And what did they find? That tracker wasn't mine. It was installed by a dealership. the dealership she bought the car from. Standard equipment, nothing criminal. But she didn't stop there. She took it one step further, sending out a group message to people I know, saying she feared for her safety and for the safety of my kids.
Now that is kind of extra low now, isn't it? Adding in the public element. It's one thing to have the private, more under wraps court filings on here, but now to send out a random text message here to old Brandon and Samantha. Do you know what Jeffrey did to me last night? I'm scared.
And let me tell you, that's the lowest blow you can throw at a dad. Because here's the truth. This isn't the first time. It's just one of many times she's called the police with false allegations. And I'll be real with you. It's fucking embarrassing having to prove your innocence over and over again. Standing in your own driveway with squad cars out in front. Neighbors peeking through their blinds. When the only thing
Honey, it's happening again.
Is showing up as a
Yep, he's getting
father.
hauled away.
That's the reality of high conflict co-parenting. It's not about truth. It's about control. It's about playing the victim, creating chaos, trying to destroy your name. But here's what I've learned. You can't control their lies. What you can control is your response.
That is another important point he touches on there. The victim mentality. That's perhaps the quickest way when you are being separated, divorced on there. If you needed a narrative to give you sympathy, you can't say, well, yes, he was a wonderful man, wonderful father, and I did some things he didn't enjoy, and now he's kicking me out. We are separating. You can't say that and expect any kind of sympathy. They're going to think, well, something went wrong with you. So rather than wait for the assumptions of others to come filtering in, what do? Why, you simply create a narrative that you feel comfortable with, that makes you receive that sympathy. Oh, come over here. What he did what to you? Oh. So this guy, how many times did he get the police over there called the tracking device and all this other nonsense on there? But it does fit in with that type of personality where the victim narrative is required in order to feel secure, to have a new image in the mind of why their life has taken a negative twist. And of course, that would mean you can't take any accountability, because if you did that, then, my God, people may think you actually had some fault in the matter. Oh, horrendously bad thought on it. Unthinkable. No. So they file these things on here and get it underway. And I have always said this on it, the most, perhaps not the most, but one of the most damaging parts of the whole equation here on this sort of conduct is that this fellow here, he has his daughters and kids on there. I believe he said daughters on there. Now, if they grow up and have something befall them, actually some sort of violence or domestic dispute, abuse and all that, and they go to file, you would hope people believe them, wouldn't you? You would hope that when an honest victim steps forward, that the system believes him, that other people have the sympathetic reaction, that the village that we live in here wants to rise up and protect those and throw out the aggressors and lock them up and all that sorts of things. And with the ever-increasing prevalence of false accusations and narratives and all that, it casts doubt among the whole group, because when enough pile up, when enough falsities are amassed, it starts to diminish from actual victims. That goes back into the Me Too category. Remember what happened there initially? Oh, everyone, you just throw out a hint. I think he looked in my direction. Oh, canceled, fired, shipped out of the country and all that. And that went on for a decent long while. There was another, Me Too. Everyone's getting slapped down and slapped. The men were falling like dominoes, just tipping over every direction you can find them in. And, another one, he breathed in my direction. Oh, another one, he asked for my number. Oh, another one, they did this. Always the retroactive reframing of situations that happened to them. But it did not take overly long here for society to begin pushing back against that saying, well, doesn't this seem rather absurd that all these cases are suddenly firing off here? They are suddenly being told here. Was this hidden mass epidemic of perverts and crazed men out there just attacking and abusing all these women, unfound, unheard of levels? Couldn't imagine it was going on to this degree. Is that really happening? And the sensible society, I think, won out in the end when they thought, well, we have examined a number of these cases here. Johnny Depp, remember that very public trial on it, but him being an abuser of Amber Heard when it turned out to be perhaps, I forget, the equal or little more that she was the aggressor. Anyway, the society pushed back and realized that this is not actually true and honest here, and we are railroading innocent people on essentially hearsay. And so that was diminished greatly. That storyline no longer worked on there. And I reference that here because if more and more of these false accusations are put forth, you start, imagine there's a scale here. You start stacking that scale. All these false ones over here, start weighing it down, and the real ones who get piled on this side, nobody cares about them because they look so fraudulent. Oh, here's another one. Here's another one. So the dangerous part there is if you have a daughter or a son or somebody, your relative, your sister, your mother, your grandma, who cares who it is, if you know somebody who was a legitimate victim here, you would hope they would be believed. But in these cases, the false accuser only thinks of themselves naturally. They don't anticipate or even concern themselves with the future, what it might hold for true victims on there, and how it will go negative for them. So not only does it happen there, but you get the trickle-down effect, the trickling down of all these negative consequences simply because these initial ones here, the women feared losing that bit of control, that they needed a storyline to save face, regardless of who it affected negatively and whose life they might ruin on it. And this guy here, he has many such videos on there. Present.father, he thinks definitely a channel worth checking out here for the majority. Interesting cases and things on there. It's you can take a peek on. Let me raise them up a little bit here. Shows there. Now, take a look at the channel. Wonderful fellow on there, helping a great many out. This has been a longer rant than perhaps I anticipated. Maybe I should accuse somebody of that. You tricked me into making this long video, Present.Father. I'm going to file now. I'm going to file. Anyway, that's a lesson in rant for today. That's enough from old Ghostmas Past here, boys and gals. So until next time, I'll be here as always, taking a little break. Perhaps a bit longer this time that I have used up all this vocal energy. No, I could probably do another. Anyway, that's all for now. Ta-ta.